Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is ButtonMasterGaming, also known as Ethan.
I'm Brian, also known as Brian.
And welcome to our WandaVision Episode 3 podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Brian's girlfriend.
Well, Brian,
That's
you have a girlfriend? What the hell?
I know, surprising.
How you know what? I'm not even gonna go. I'm not even gonna ask on this.
I'm surprised I've been able to keep this one
I
with
know.
my track.
That's kind of a roast. Welcome to our WandaVision Episode 3 podcast review and synopsis. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep up to date with our videos. We'll be coming out with weekly WandaVision podcasts every week until the series is over. Oh yeah, spoiler warning, because we're definitely going to be talking about spoilers within this podcast recording. So like if you haven't watched WandaVision at least episode 3 right now, stop watching right now. Go watch it, come back to us, and then you won't be sad at the end of the day. So you can watch it now exclusively on Disney Plus. So and anything else you two want to say?
No, you pretty much summed it all up.
Yeah, I'm good.
Alrighty then, so let's get into episode 3, which now has a title, by the way. I just recently saw
Okay.
on Disney Plus that they started giving each of these episodes their own titles. So like episode 1 was what was it called again?
It was filmed in front of a studio audience, or something like that.
Yeah, and then episode 2 was
Don't
now it
touch
just
that
blanked.
dial.
Yeah, don't was it touch or turn? I don't know. Disney
Don't
Plus
touch.
isn't loading for me right now, so I'm gonna have to change my channel description now. um, but yeah, and so this episode is titled "Now in Color" because at the end of episode 2 we transition from black and white into color. Now basically we are set in the theme of the 70s in this episode, so let's start with that.
Yes. Well then, let's start where everything starts. The intro.
Ah, yes.
For instance, in this one, we start with a very we have evolved from the days of the animated Bewitched referencing intros to the now 70s hip and groovy kind of intros.
It's a straight boogie.
It really is.
Right, yeah. So basically, like I mentioned in the previous episode, subscribe to us, by the way. Like, like the 40s and 50s type of sitcom television that they're portraying is more along the line of like Leave It to Beaver or Father Knows Best, and what you said is Bewitched in the episode 2. And then since the transition to the 70s, it's now more like acting like not the Partridge Family, but it was like it's like in the back of my mind. I can't remember what the TV show was. That because like I swear like the intro sequence that this episode had was definitely trying to like be inspired from something from the 70s, like a specific TV show.
I said the Brady Bunch last time.
Yeah, that's
but
what I
don't know.
thought. Yeah, because I thought it was the Brady Bunch. That's I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Basically, they have their own little TV show intro like they all show us. And now, Brian, would you like to start at the beginning of the plot?
Ah, yes, the beginning of the plot. The at-home doctor visit. Because you know, when you're pregnant, you can't really go out that much. So the doctor's all like, you know what, sit tight, I'll come to you.
Exactly.
So the doctor is like, hey, you're 4 months pregnant. And Vision's like, wait a minute. Huh?
This
Because
happened.
to them, it's only been 12 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. Things are not very usual around here, are they?
No. It's almost like they're trying to fit in into a 30-minute episode.
Quite unusual.
Right.
But yeah, no, so the doctor comes over for the visit. It's like, hey, she's 4 months pregnant. Usually we like to reference to the baby in the womb as sizes of fruit, because you know it makes it simpler for the women.
We
Right.
love misogyny.
Oh yes.
Hell yeah, dog.
Yeah. Uh, so they make some fruit jokes, because very much a comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Because for all intents and purposes, this still is a comedy show. At least, like the I guess like the make believe theme that they're going for.
Exactly. It's very much a sitcom first,
Yeah,
mystery
sitcom
second.
first, mystery second. Exactly. As at least of right now, like I said in the previous episode, subscribe to our channel. That
Yeah.
by the end of the series is going to go into more like climactic, finally solving the mystery. But yeah, we'll get more into detail about that in the coming weeks. Continue.
Yep. So after the doctor is like, "Hey, 4 months, have fun. I'm off to my trip to Bermuda." Vision sees him out, and as he sees him out, he's all like, "Okay, have fun with your trip to Bermuda. Bye bye now." And as Vision's about to head back inside, he sees Herb cutting his hedges. But
Herb is the neighbor, right?
yeah, Herbert's the neighbor. Now Herb, if you don't remember, he was in episode 2. He was the friend that was the audience participant during the magic act of visions
Right.
that went awry.
And wasn't he also the guy that gave him the Vision the piece of gum that clogged up his insides and made him an alcoholic?
Yes, yes, he was.
Cool. So it's that guy, and now he's been brought into color, just like the rest of the show.
Yep. Literally. uh, and now he looks all 70s. He's got the mini afro. He's got the goatee going on.
Mm-hmm.
Very 70s. But as he's trimming his hedges, he goes a little bit too far. And when I say a little bit too far, I mean he starts cutting into the wall in between his house and Vision's house. Now, speaking of the houses, this was very much intentional, but it is clearly a set. Because if you look behind Herbert, and even if you just look at his hedges, you can very much tell that it is a fake setting.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's it's a keen observation of technical detail right there. It's like
Oh,
that.
yes.
That's not only like because they did that on purpose to like sell the theme that things aren't as what they seem, even though it's kind of obvious to the audience. Because you know why? Vision's dead, guys.
What?
I know that's
No.
so wild. Yeah, audience, take a shot every time that I say Vision's dead, guys, throughout all these episodes because I know for a fact
Once
this is
all
going
the
to become a
episodes
theme.
come out and you binge them, you will be drunk.
You might
Exactly.
pass away from alcohol poisoning.
Alrighty.
But yeah, no, you have that little weird, awkward moment with Herb. Then he goes back inside, and then a good majority of this episode is I guess one would say filler, because it's just mainly them
Yeah, because I feel like
getting.
like right after the what happens between the Herb and the wall and between like we'll get into it for like a good solid like maybe 5 minutes is really just like about nothing. It's really just about WandaVision trying to learn their best to be parents.
Which I mean, it does lead to some pretty good jokes and everything, but when you're just talking like plot wise, not much happens.
Right. It's sort of like those moments like say video games where like you need to go do like plot you need to go to plot point B and but like it takes you like 4 hours to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, now
Um,
the story progresses. Alrighty then.
but yeah,
But that's
so
not that's
they're
not like to be like derivative like in a negative fashion with this because for technical purposes this is actually pretty funny how they like a sort of montage of like well for example like the first scene like there's a scene in there where like Wanda and Vision are like making the baby room with the crib and everything and then there's like they transition to another scene where Vision's like timing himself how fast he can put the diaper on a doll which is super fast. It's almost like supersonic speed because he's a robot.
they have their argument over the naming of Billy or Tommy.
Right. Well, yeah. That'll be later.
Yes. And then she has a false contraction, which they use to fix her breathing exercises, and she makes the power go out in the entire block.
Right.
Because her powers go awry during
Contractions.
during pregnancy.
Right. It's like throughout the entire episode, like I think that's like the biggest aspect to take away from this episode, technically speaking, is because like every single thing that Wanda does, there's like a unintended consequence of her actions through her magic, and so and it comes off very comedically as well.
It does. So when she has like her false contraction, for example, like the power goes out everywhere, and because like contraction, it's contracting, it's painful, so
Okay,
fritzen.
okay, I might sound like a dumb here, but I don't know what contraction means when you're in labor.
Your muscles around the baby tense up and contract to push the baby out, so you don't have to as much.
Oh, so your body does the work for you.
For the most
Gotcha.
part.
It does its best. It doesn't do
It,
much, but it's its best.
yeah, right. It does what the muscles are intended to do. Gotcha.
Yes. Uh, and so this leads to one of my favorite jokes in the entire episode so far, and that's so as the tech is freaking out, it cuts to one of the neighbors' houses, and it's Phil and his wife's all like, "Phil, do these earrings make me look fat?" And just as he turns around to answer her question, the power goes out. He turns back and he's like, "Oh, thank God."
That was really funny. I actually forgot about that scene existed. That dude, I feel like is gonna become like the gag character throughout the series.
Phil was the one who had the Danishes and said that was my grandma's piano.
Right.
Which I think his character is obviously it's going to be a comedic one, but his comedy is going to be coming from like the dry like the way he just reacts to things and his delivery.
Yeah.
But after the false contraction, as Vision's like wondering what's really going, like wondering kind of what's going on with like the powers and the pregnancy and how fast everything's going. He starts to really ponder on things and is like, thinking back on it, there was Mr. and Mrs. Hart and dinner, Herb just outside. I'm thinking something might be going on here, Wanda.
Right.
And then the episode just like glitches somewhere.
It's like your tune up dial up TV from the 70s just kind of like glitched out, and then the program continued as was. All right, so I want to break that down into some detail here. Like I said, like I theorized back in the previous episode, subscribe to our channel, that like each of the episodes were gonna like basically jump decade by decade. I'm not sure how true that is because Brian, you sent me something earlier in the week that is like basically like a screenshot of like the future episodes coming, and it's like it was a set decade. I'm gonna put an image of it right here on the screen. So was that an official image or is that just like another theorization?
I believe it's just a theorization.
Okay.
Because I think if it would have been if it was an actual thing, one, I think they would have probably kept it under wraps, and two, I think the account probably would have been an official Marvel account.
Okay, that's true.
That's why I think it's a theorization.
Okay, but it's not technically off because like because we have like the trailer shots of this show basically just did see the TV theme kind of evolve throughout the episodes. It just like jump back and forth. Yeah, so basically that's what I kind of theorized. So it was basically it kind of just like skipped over the 60s, honestly, because it went from episode 2 being the 50s being into the 70s here. So I guess each episode is kind of jumping decade by decade, but my point is here, the bigger picture is since the previous 2 episodes were black and white and like the events that happened, like Vision describes it here in the scene, or basically like Mr. Hot and the magic show. So, and now your pregnancy today. What the hell? But so basically it's like we're recording this on a Saturday, our podcast of it, and like yesterday, like their Friday is essentially the magic show, and then their Thursday was essentially Mr. Hart's dinner party. So basically, even though the episodes are kind of jumping decade by decade, for them it's just a day by day process. So I feel like Vision is kind of noticing that, but then the show is like, stop that, go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop, go back, and continue on with the show, please.
Exactly. It's like, we don't want you to figure out what's going on here. Get that out of here.
Yeah, it's like almost like something, or well, definitely something, because I think all of us know that this is indeed a pocket dimension, because Vision's dead, guys. So basically, yeah. So basically, we all know this is fake, but like I think what's gonna be solved throughout the upcoming episodes are basically like who, what, and how. Well, we already know what, but how and why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after the little vision glitch that happens, Wanda goes into labor 9 months early.
The baby's coming.
And her water breaks. And how her magic discerns this is by making it rain inside. And as it's raining, we get a commercial break. Woo!
Just
Commercial
like the previous
break.
2 episodes.
Yep.
So what was the product here again?
The product here is it's a little soap product. It's bubble bath, and it's called Hydra Soak. Release the goddess in you.
Right. It is basically just like, are you tired of living your day-to-day life because you're so full of chores and you don't have a purpose in your life? Come on, guys.
You're an exhausted housewife. What could you be doing?
I know. It's not like you have 5,000 things to do at once.
Exactly. This is what children do, you folks.
But yeah. Now, as keeping with the theme of what the commercials have been doing, the first one is it's a toaster by the one and only Stark Industries. The second one was a watch made by Strucker and Hydra.
Right.
Now in this one, we get Hydra Soak. Think about it. Hydra Soak. Picking up what I'm putting down?
Oh,
Thank you.
I think I get it. Man, I would have never known if
I'm so impressed, dear. I'm shocked.
Yes. And no one will ever know.
Yeah, no one, and like, who knows? Even the most dedicated of Marvel fans, like this kind of Easter egg will just pass over some of the most dedicated Marvel fans, right over their heads, and they'll never know.
But yeah, that's what the commercial break kind of throws at us. Anyways, commercial break ends, and we come back, and well, as we know, Wanda is basically going into labor. And so because of this, Vision has to go catch the doctor before he leaves on his trip to Bermuda. Which again leads to another joke that I like, where it's as Vision's about to go run after the doctor, he's like, I hope I can catch him before he makes his trip. And Wanda's like, trip? Where could he be going at a time like this? Well, to be fair, honey, you are 9 months early. As
so
he
wild.
super speeds out the door. So Vision then super speeds out the door to leave. And as Wanda is in labor, Diddly Dawn Geraldine decides to walk her way over and grab a bucket from good old Wanda.
Our pipe started leaking.
Yep.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Yeah, and Geraldine is she's a friend that Wanda met in the previous episode at the For the Children meeting.
For the children.
For the children.
And she's in her whole 70s look. She's got the heels. She's got the pants. She's got the afro. She's got the lingo saying groovy and funky and all that stuff.
Right, because, all these episodes are supposed to emulate the sitcoms of their decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they gotta implement it with like design and acting and everything.
Mm-hmm. So Geraldine, she comes over, and now Geraldine does not know that Wanda's pregnant.
Right, so I found this to be very ridiculous, by the way. Because like at first, Wanda tries to hide her pregnant belly because like even though you're about to go into labor, nobody knows about this yet. Even though it's 9 months, quote unquote. So like I just found it ridiculous that the ways that she tries to hide her 9 month pregnant belly was basically through like she put on this heavy winter jacket, but then since this is a comedy show, it has to be a misadventure. So like every time she has like a false contraction, right?
No, these are real ones.
Oh,
At
these are
this
real.
point.
Well, okay, yeah. So basically, every time that happens, like her coat magically changes every time that happens, and then like by the end of it, she's holding a fruit bowl, which is not that it's skinny. It's actually
is.
pretty
And it's
skinny
very
in comparison.
opposite.
I have no idea how Geraldine missed that. I found that scene to
She
be
was too
completely
captivated by the
ridiculous.
apple.
Exactly. Even though her hand was like right there, and she like could she not tell, but like I don't know the width of her body that something was up. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, yeah, I thought that was
Um,
completely ridiculous.
yeah. But at the same time, Wanda kind of manifested a stork with her powers. So now she has to find a way to get Geraldine to not notice the stork.
Yeah, so like I must have like blinked or something. I have no idea where this stork came from.
Okay. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, what happens is her powers kind of emulate the way she's feeling or what's kind of happening during her pregnancy. So for example, back when they were setting up the crib and stuff that you mentioned, when they set up this little like carousel above the crib of butterflies, she started to feel kicks, and the kicks, as she says, made her feel fluttery. And so the butterflies then came to life and started like fluttering around and stuff. When her water broke, it made it rain inside, and all that kind of things.
Oh,
And so, because a stork delivers a baby and she's going into labor, about to deliver a baby,
I get it now. Like that
that's
completely
why.
whizzed over my head. I'd like to point out something here that like I don't know. Okay, Brian or Rachel, have you guys watched The Fairly Odd Parents at all?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys remember the special where they first had Poof?
Kinda.
Maybe.
Kind of. Okay. So basically, it's kind of reminiscent of that because they're birthing the baby, and basically since they're magic, kind of like Wanda. Oh.
What? The connections we didn't know we wanted.
So basically both the Wandas are having their babies. They're both magical, and basically when they're going into labor, well, Cosmo's going into labor here, but that doesn't matter. Basically everything that happens here is basically magical antics happen, and they're basically linked with emotions. If the baby's happy, if the baby's happy, good things happen. If it cries, bad things happen. And if it farts, the world blows up. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like that here. It's kind of like that here, where like if Wanda's happy, if she like all the butterflies start appearing around the room, or like she's going to labor, then the store comes in. Wow. I just want to say that wow.
As the stork decides to make its appearance, Wanda now has to stop Geraldine from noticing it. So some more antics ensue.
Geraldine talks about her no longer temp job.
Yeah.
Right.
Geraldine just tells the story that no one really kind of paid
Right,
attention
because
to.
like
I did too, but that doesn't matter.
okay, before I want to dive into that scene, because I made a note of that in my mind mentally. Okay, what was Geraldine talking about?
Geraldine was the gist of Geraldine's story is this. She got hired in a temp job, which a temp job is essentially kind of like an internship of sorts. I believe. I could be wrong.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah. It's essentially an internship. And
At
her
an advertising company.
yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so she gets this temp job at an advertising company, and her boss, Mr. Haddix, then starts to get this really bad case of hiccups.
During an important presentation.
Yep. So she decides to make him do a handstand to get the hiccups out of him.
What the hell?
And then she is able to create a slogan for Gravity O's, and so then she gets promoted to an employee. And it actually gets a job. Woo! That's the gist of the story.
And that's basically it?
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Now let me tell my side of the story. Since basically, I'm pretty sure everybody in the audience, like the people who are watching this, and if you haven't watched episode 3, I don't know why you're still here. But basically, I don't think anybody really paid attention to it besides you two. So basically, I think that, and I think that's what the cinematography was going for, because it focuses more on the antics between Wanda and the stork, because Wanda wants to get the stork. Well, Wanda wants, her objective is for Geraldine not to see the stork at all. So basically, she's like, it's more, the cinematography is more focused on that aspect than really giving any attention to Geraldine's story, which I think is kind of relatable, because in real life, I'm pretty sure you guys have had conversations with person B, but then there's something really more important going on, so your mind is more focused on that than what person B is talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that happen with you, Rachel, with Bryan? Something else is happening and you're just not paying attention to Bryan?
More than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
It's personal, but it happens a lot.
Alrighty. Yeah, I felt like it was something clever that scene really did, and I just wanted to highlight that.
Yep. Well, after story time with Geraldine, Wanda goes into labor, and it's basically time to push the babies. The baby's coming.
For real?
So Geraldine helps Wanda deliver the baby, and the baby is it's the cleanest baby you'll ever see.
Yeah, because it's Disney. You can't have blood.
It's Disney. It's a sitcom. That's how babies work.
It's gotta be magical, gang.
Exactly. And then right after the baby is born, that's when Vision gets home, and he's like, "Oh man, I missed it." And then Geraldine takes the doctor to the kitchen
To leave the parents to have a nice emotional moment.
Yep.
Right.
In my notes, I literally just put emotions here.
Right, because I mean, none of us here are mothers or fathers or parents or what have you. So basically, as of us, at least of right now, we don't really know how to describe that emotion when you first have your child. Because, from what is portrayed in TV and what probably your parents have described, it's one of the most magical feelings that you could ever experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically, I think that's what Wanda and Vision are portraying off here. And so, yeah, I feel like that's a really good emotional scene, even for people like us who haven't had that experience, at least as of right now. Well, I don't. What about you two, gang? What about you two?
Yeah, you pretty much described it. I mean, we being seen as we're not parents.
Yeah, no, no, I'm asking how your guys' kids.
Well, we don't have any.
We have purchased many children. And
Wait,
don't know what you're talking about.
Purchased?
Stuffed animals don't count, okay? When Geraldine takes the doctor into the kitchen, Vision takes his firstborn and is like, "Come here, Tommy." And then Wanda's like, "Tommy?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Aw."
Right, because earlier the debate between either naming the kid Tommy or Billy. Wanda wanted Tommy and Vision wanted Billy.
And then here, Vision decided to give in and go with the women's request.
Right.
As he should.
Smart man.
Hell yeah, Brian. Always listen to your girlfriend, even when she's objectively wrong.
Yes. Very much so.
Sometimes it do be like that.
So Vision takes the baby, and then Wanda's like, "Hey, let him see you for who you really are." Because at this point, Vision has his disguise on. So Vision literally just is like, "Okay, look to the right, look to where the people are. Robot time."
Right. You know, that's not really anything against Paul Bettany right there. That was just like the CGI people deciding like, okay, I know Vision's like looking directly at Geraldine and the doctor over at the kitchen. Let's do the robot. Let's do the pink face right now.
Exactly. They're just like, "Look, we have the effects available. Let's just do it."
Exactly. You know, now that I'm thinking about it though, like I wonder how they filmed that actually. Do they have to like perform the scenes twice, both with and without the robot makeup on?
Probably.
Because that's
honestly.
wild. Because that's wild.
So, anyways,
Interrupting the emotional moment. There's another baby.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Okay, instead of being Tommy or Billy, it's now Tommy and Billy.
and Billy,
So-
because two sons.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God for that compromise. Am I right?
I know. Thank the universe, am I right?
Exactly.
So yeah, twins. Well, since the twins were delivered fine, they're in good health and everything like that. The doctor needs to head out on his trip. So Vision walks him outside, while Geraldine stays behind in the house with Wanda. Now this is where it kind of cuts back and forth between Wanda and Vision. So I think it's best if we just do the the Vision side first, and then go into the Wanda side. So Vision walks the doctor out, and is like, "I'm sorry, we interrupted your trip to Bermuda," and he's all like, "It's okay. Small towns, can't escape them." And then Vision's like,
Play a laugh track.
escape, you say?
Exactly.
And so he ponders on that, and then he looks over and he sees Agnes and Herb kind of gossiping of sorts. I don't know. It's not really clear what they were talking about.
They were
Well,
whispering them.
it's definitely like a discreet conversation. Like they didn't want anybody else to hear it.
And Vision kind of is like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" And they're all like, "Oh, nothing. We're all fine and dandy over here. Nothing creepy going on over here in this corner of the neighborhood. No siree."
No man.
As we see the line in the wall where Herb started cutting with his hedge trimmer, and so Herb and Agnes is like, "Hey, is Geraldine still in the house with Wanda?" And he's like, "Yeah, why?" And she's like, "Oh, no reason." Because they start gossiping about Geraldine, how she's new to town, like really new, how she doesn't really have a family
Or home.
or a home. You know,
Right.
no one really there.
Yeah, it's like this. Like she's a like weird entity that just showed up out of nowhere, then instantly became friends with the entire neighborhood, which I think also plays into that detail of like how like technically these shows are jumping decade to decade, but this is still like, well, in my vision, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday type of thing in their timeline.
Yeah. And Herbert kind of tries to tell Vision something. He's like, "'Cause we're all Vision's like, "What you trying to say, Herb?" And he's like, "You know what? Have a good day."
Yeah, it's basically like they like sort of like go back into that like scripted sequence of like the show kind of, right?
Which you see a lot more of that with Geraldine in the Wanda section, which we'll get into. But that's kind of like the Vision section of like Herb wants to tell him something, Agnes kind of stopped him away from it, and then they kind of just go back into like the
Right.
whole like, we're in a sitcom.
Right, exactly. Like I feel like this is something I should stress for like like each of these episodes until we do eventually get to the climax. It's the show, even though we know it's a pocket dimension because Vision's dead, guys. So like we know it's a pocket dimension, and basically like it wants to like build the mystery of like how and why of what is going on in this pocket universe, or why it exists in the first place. And so basically, yeah, that's what they're building up the mystery to. And like it's really intriguing. It's sort of weird in this kind of sense because we know the answer of what, but the intrigue of the mystery is actually like why and how, which is kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of a weird difference when other shows kind of like build up a mystery and the answer is like a what, but not as a how or a why. So I think this show, like, it kind of gives the audience like an edge of their seat kind of thing with their unique approach to mystery telling.
Definitely.
All right, so I think this is now we can get into Wanda and Geraldine because it goes a lot. It goes a lot more deeper into what I'm talking about.
Yes, because Wanda is looking over in the crib at her two sons, and Geraldine's right next to her, and he's all like, "Oh, two beautiful boys, gotta love twins," and then she's all like, "I was a twin," and Geraldine's all like, "Huh?" And she's like, "I had a brother, Pietro."
Oh yeah.
And then Geraldine, which I mean, if you don't remember,
Pietro died. It's just, that might slip out of people's minds because it's been a while, but yeah, that happened.
So, in a previous in our previous podcast, I mentioned how I think that there's kind of like a scripted feel to the show, and this really kind of not necessarily proves it, but kind of like ties into it, where Geraldine kind of like snaps out of the scripted part and is like, and she's all like, "Pietro, he died because of Ultron, didn't he?" As if she like is coming like her real world self is like coming back and is like, "Yeah, no, I know about this." Because yeah, and then like and then Wanda's all like, "What did you say?" And then she like kind of snaps back into like her scripted character and is like, "Oh,
I said you're a strong woman, Wanda. Do I need to say it again to rub it in?
Exactly."
Girl, we heard you the first time.
And so Geraldine then goes like, and then Geraldine's all like, "It's okay, Wanda." And Wanda's all like, "I think you should leave."
Right.
Look
It's
at
like
my
this is
house.
something that we kind of like observed like earlier too. There's like they're like these sitcom themes and atmospheres that the shows want to emulate. They have their own set script, but then the deeper mystery of the whole thing kind of like plays out of script actually, and kind of just does its own thing into the mystery playing. And then like the show acknowledges this and it basically just says no to that and tries to correct itself back onto the atmosphere script.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like we saw that in episode 1 with like the dinner choking scene, and episode 2 with the radio. And yeah, that's another thing that I forgot to mention a bit earlier was basically like, remember how you said last time, Brian, is like in order, like you kind of theorized that Dottie might have been a real person because of the because when she accidentally shattered the glass in her hand, the blood that was coming out of her was actually in color, whereas episode 2 was black and white. So basically that was a signifier of that she might be a real person. And I think we saw that again with the scene with why is his name Herb and Agnes when Herb was like, "I need to tell you something, but I just can't, like I physically can't for some reason." And that's basically the point that I I'm trying to point out here to the audience.
Back to with Geraldine. Wanda is observing Geraldine as she's across the room, and she notices a little necklace that happens to be around Geraldine's neck. And on this necklace is a symbol that we have seen throughout episodes 1 and 2.
Right, and I didn't want to mention this symbol in the previous podcast because like literally every single other review was about this thing and this thing alone and didn't acknowledge anything else about the story, which is a total disservice, which is why I did not want to mention it beforehand until the show itself overtly acknowledged it. And so this is what happens here. And so I feel like we can mention it now. So Brian, please explain, comic book Brian. Please explain what this symbol means.
I have been waiting for this moment for a whole week. What this symbol is this symbol is the symbol used for a task force by the name of SWORD. Now, SWORD, for those of you who do not know, for all those strict MCU fan people,
Hi.
SWORD is essentially SHIELD in space.
Really?
Anything dealing with extraterrestrials or anything that's not of the strictly Earth world, SWORD would be called in to deal with it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what about the Guardians of the Galaxy, or what about the Nova Corps? Well, the Guardians of the Galaxy, they just kind of vibe their way through encounters. And the Nova Corps are essentially kind of like the SWAT force of the universe. They're not really. That's essentially what they are. SWORD. What makes SWORD different is that SWORD works like SHIELD, in which they work behind the scenes and they kind of like they analyze before they attack.
Huh.
You know?
Gotcha.
Kind of picking up what I'm putting down.
I mean, so it's basically just like another shield, but in space.
Yes. Now, what I think might be happening is. Continue.
No, I feel like if it's just that, it sounds kind of lame, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Kind of. Well, I think what they're trying to do. Again, I'm probably completely wrong about this, because who knows who's running SWORD at this point.
Oh yeah, true.
Is I think there's one of two possibilities. SWORD will either end up being like an antagonist of sorts, or it's just SHIELD rebranding.
Yeah, that actually.
I would like to think it's the first option, but it could honestly just be the second one.
Yeah, I feel like this too has slipped out of people's minds, but like SHIELD fell a long time ago, back in 2014 in Winter Soldier, the movie Winter Soldier. So basically, yeah, I think people kind of slipped that out of their minds, and people still think it's a thing. But SHIELD fell.
So I think like throughout this time they've just been kind of, because like, you know, we've had like space threats and all that stuff ever since then. And so they probably are just like, you know, SWORD.
Probably, you know, okay, I guess I might as well mention this now, but I'm probably going to mention it at the end of this recording. Well, not recording, but at the end of the series as well. It's like, since this technically is the beginning of the MCU Phase 4, correct?
Technically, yes.
Okay, because according to like the showrunner and Marvel themselves, this takes place pretty much directly after Endgame. Okay, so they're gonna have to kind of like make up some BS excuse as to why SWORD never intervened with any previous space adventures in the previous films. So like they're gonna have to make up something like that, just kind of like how they did with Captain Marvel's introduction, because like basically Fury was like to Captain Marvel, come when there's like the big existential threat. So don't come when there's an alien invasion, don't come when there's a robot uprising, please come when people start turning to dust. Booyah. Yeah, so they're gonna have to make some BS excuse for that, which is like, I guess it's par for the course when it comes to like comic book movies or like comic books in general, because, you know, I guess this stuff happens all the time, but I guess it's just more It's more annoying when it's cinematic, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of a problem I have.
Yeah. Then what happens is Vision then rushes in, and he's all like, "Where's Geraldine?" And Wanda's like, "Oh, she went home."
You just missed her.
And we then the aspect ratio changes.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I mentioned last episode that I really wanted the audience here to like really focus in on the aspect ratios, because even though we did transition to color back in the last episode, it still remained in a 4:3 ratio. But I just had this feeling that these future episodes were going to like transition back into a 16:9 aspect ratio, because this show is really different, and I knew it was gonna go for that really weird, unorthodox direction. So yeah, I knew technical direction. Basically we go from 4:3 setting in the 70s and come to a 16:9, kind of, modern day cinematography, basically. And then we see Geraldine get like tossed out of this portal, I guess, and then just thrown into it's like an empty field, but like not really, because there are like lights surrounding and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
It's definitely being monitored.
right, so yeah, so basically, I think what we can kind of theorize, like Sword is basically just monitoring this whole ordeal happening in WandaVision's WandaVision Pocket Dimension. And
Yeah.
basically, once she's down lying on the ground, this whole like SWAT team basically surrounds her. It's not actual SWAT, but it's like sword SWAT, I guess.
Mhm.
Like armored vans and everything.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And yeah,
Um,
the episode just kind of like the camera like zooms into the outer border of that, and basically just cuts at the credits.
yeah. And in this, when she gets tossed out, we see a old decrepit Westview sign showing that Westview is an actual place that
Right.
has
Yeah.
been encased or like cocooned in this barrier, this like mystical barrier, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
magical of sorts. And I think that this is why what I think Herb was trying to say was that they're all trapped there. The reason why I think this is because obviously, well, the cocoon is there. And so I believe that all these people that they've been interacting with who play like the neighbors and everything, I believe that they're actual people. They're just stuck in this scripted world that they can't escape from because of whatever's causing this.
So yeah, that's
Or,
basically the end of episode 3.
yep.
Yeehaw.
All right.
I don't
So
have anything more to add unless you do.
like, well, basically, episode 3 kind of like ended off, I guess, at the cliffhanger. It didn't really feel like one, but I guess because we really don't have any details of what's going to happen in episode 4. Like, even thematically speaking, we don't know if it's going to keep the 70s aesthetic for the next episode. It's going to continue following that formula of like, basic satire first, mystery later, and then it'll just keep ramping up from there. And with episodes 2 and 3, I feel like they are ramping up that mystery feeling kind of significantly, and I feel like it's going to be exponentially become the focus, consistently become the focus.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So yeah, I just that's what's probably going to happen in the next episode as well. Do you have anything else to say, Brian?
No?
All right, Rachel, was this fun doing this with us?
Yeah, it was a hoot. Thanks for letting me talk. I'll probably come back if I don't have plans.
Alrighty then. So yeah, you guys out here in the audience, thank you for tuning in. Please go watch WandaVision episode 3. Well, if you haven't already, I don't know why you're still here. But basically, uh, you can catch WandaVision exclusively on Disney Plus, and please subscribe to our channel because we will be coming out with weekly videos describing in detail of these episodes. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourselves a fantastic night and take care. Say goodbye, you two.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.